Rabbi David Stav, Shalom.
Shalom, shalom.
Chairman of the Tzohar Rabbinical Organization and a rabbi of the community of Shoham. You are presenting, in wake of all the disputes and the disagreements, an idea, and a way to bring the Haredi community into the army or into the service, the social service in Israel. Some, have given up already. It's impossible. Some say we have to make it happen. Some say it has to be from inside, from them. How can we do this differently?
Let's start from the beginning. First of all, ideologically, I belong to the modern Orthodox movement, which believes that every Jewish resident of the State of Israel has to serve in the army, and there is no exceptions, and everybody should do that. And I think it's a moral flag on the Haredi society that does not serve in the army. That's my personal ideology, and that's my belief.
An obligation and a mitzvah, a precept.
Yes, it's a command by Hashem to serve in the army. And in a mitzvah war, as we said, even a bride from its chuppah, a bride from its wedding, and a bride and a groom from their chuppah are taken to serve in the army. And there are no exceptions. We all remember the poet of Dvorah actually criticizing the tribes of Reuven, why they did not participate in the war. Liflagot Reuven Gdolim Chikrei Lev. Having said that, I believe that it's impossible to coerce, to force a million people to go to the army. As a matter of fact, in the past, all the attempts that were done following the Tal bill that was was accepted in the Knesset, was established in Knesset, none of the proposals and none of the decisions of the Supreme Court and the government were never implemented practically. Mm-hmm. And actually the IDF faked numbers of so-called Haredi people that served in the army, but actually most of them were not Haredi, or they were in the previous time Haredi, but they were already secular, or they belonged to the right-wing Dati Leumi people, but very few Haredim were drafted to the army. You cannot force people to go to the army against their will, especially if you talk about so many people. Having said that, we understand that today not only the state releases them from going to the army, but actually encourages them not to go to the army and not to go to work, because it prohibits every yeshiva boy to go to work because he has to stay in the yeshiva until the age of 26 and having 2 children.
As if his career is learning in yeshiva.
Right. Although most of them do not learn in the yeshiva. And even if they want to work, it's illegal. So those among them that are working are not working legally. So they don't report to the income tax authority. And actually they are not part of the Israeli economy. What we suggest is the following. Today already, every Haredi and religious girl can release itself from the service in the army based on the fact that she says, I'm religious, and because of religious reason, it's not suitable for me to serve in the army. Actually, what is the deep concern of the Haredi society from serving in the army? They are afraid that they will be influenced by the soldier, by the secular soldiers, by the girls that are there, for many reasons that I wouldn't undermine it. I wouldn't disgrace these reasons. They are concerned that the kids will be influenced by not proper environment, and therefore they don't want to send the kids there. I understand that. If that's the reason, let's say it.
Say it clear.
Say it clear. Every boy and girl. Today you say every girl. Right in the law, every boy and girl could release themselves from going to the army because of religious reasons. What will we gain by that? A, they will not be depending in the yeshivot anymore. You don't have to fake, you don't have to register as a yeshiva boy. B, now the state will be able to encourage them to go to national service, in fire, in shutting fire, in Zaka, in Atzala, in different Haredi organizations that deal with welfare issues in Haredi environment, and then the government will encourage them to do that by providing vouchers, national service, providing the vouchers that will help them, will assist them to afterwards to study mathematics, English, other professions that are needed in order to get a proper salary in Israel. And this will encourage them to go also to the army, because once they will be motivated by vouchers, by propaganda, by advocacy, that they are not depending anymore in the Roshei Yeshivot. They could do whatever they want. They are not depending in the politicians. They will choose for themselves what they want to do. This will encourage them. We cannot guarantee, but since we know already now that more than 50% of the yeshiva boys are not studying really in the yeshivot, it will push them, if not to go to the army, to national service. If not to go to national service, at least to go to work legally. And by doing this, we will start a process which will not end in one day, but it will start a process of being involved in the Israeli economy, in the Israeli society. And I believe that more and more Haredi Israelis will participate in the army eventually.
Now, this is a change, and especially this society is deterred from changes. How will you make this happen? You need to discuss this with their leadership, and that's the big challenge.
Well, basically, the essence of this idea that I don't need the agreement, because what we do here is just releasing them. We don't tell you not to learn Torah. We don't force you to learn English and mathematics in your high schools, in your elementary school. But the state is entitled to take decisions for what reason we will release you. I'm sure, and that's a very important comment, that a few of their leaders will be concerned, because this proposal actually cuts the dependence of the yeshiva boys from the politicians and from the Roshei Yeshivot. This might concern them. I agree to that comment. That's the power of government, to take a decision that does not coerce the public. It will coerce the politicians, that no more playing games and pretending that Haredi people are going to the army and will say, okay, we'll send 2,000. Eventually, when we count the numbers, we see that 90% of them were not Haredi. This game could not continue anymore. The government, the Israeli society after October 7th is determined to make a change in this.
Exactly. So that brings me to my second part of the interview, understanding what this change is, because everyone's talking about we need a change. Something needs to change. And then we see a dispute and a protest and a disagreement and a controversy and this fear that everything's going to come back. At the end, when it comes to fighting about values, it may come back. The protests, the rift in society. How do we make sure not to go back to October 6th?
That's a general question, which is not referring only to this crisis about the service in the army. It relates to many other issues. I believe that the spirit of the people today is in a very high level. The society doesn't want to come back to October 6th. We are fed up with that. And I believe that the public will punish any politician that will try, and there are those who try, to bring us back to that situation, to try to accuse others that it's their fault, why the war broke out, if it's because of those who threatened that they will not serve in the army, or because of the others that said that we will force you and we are the majority and we'll do whatever we want. I think we don't want to be back there. And I think that there is a need. Despite the fact that there is crisis in our political leadership in the last 16, 18, 24 months, I don't know where to count it, where to start counting it. There is an urgent need. No more boycott of any candidate to be prime minister. No more using of words that blame this one as a traitor or the other one as a fascist or whatever. These expressions could not be a part of our dialogue. We cannot allow ourselves to blame our colleagues in being friendly or being allies of our enemies. This could not happen anymore. And I believe that there is a need, an urgent need, right after the war will be behind us, to go to re-elections, to elections again, in order to choose a new leadership. That there is one fundamental condition that is expected, at least from my opinion, to that leader, whoever it will be, from the right or from the left. No more right government, no more left government. It must be a government that will include all the parties that belong to the mainstream of the Israeli society.
Now, when you talk about the spirit, it's not only because you read the newspapers and see the news. You're meeting the soldiers, the families, the families of the story of the yeah. And when you talk about spirit, it's not because you only see the news, read the newspapers. It's because you're seeing it from up close. Families, soldiers, the strengthening stories, the sad stories, but the spirit is strong.
It's unbelievable. Despite despite the news that sometimes could deteriorate the level of spirit, whoever who walks in the streets of Israel, wherever he goes, it doesn't matter if he goes to the families of the reserves and he sees how they are determined to, and the women, the wives that are sending their husbands to the service, and they don't make any excuses and no exceptions and no reasons why not to go because of problems in their business or problems in the family. And I see the heroism of the Israeli society. I don't have another word. Strength of Israeli society in all frontiers. If it's among the soldiers, if it's among the parents, if it's among the families, it's unbelievable. You know, last week I met a mission from New York that arrived to visit one of the hospitals. And one injured soldier that lost his leg came over to us. He thought that he knew me and he wanted to give a hug. And we gave him a hug. And he thanked to the American mission that arrived there. And they said to him, well, we have to thank you that you sacrificed your leg for the Jewish state and to defend us. And he was saying to them, well, you have to thank me. I thank you. I had the privilege to be a soldier of the state of Israel. And he doesn't have a leg. He's not able to walk. And with such a smile and such a love. And it's unbelievable to see these people. And we get a lot of strength from these soldiers.
Rabbi David Stav, thank you very much for joining us.